Hello there, and welcome to a new episode of The Power of Surrender with Hugh, where every day we take a different card from the Power of Surrender card deck by Dr. Judith Orloff. Thank you, Dr. Judith, for creating an amazing deck of cards. And today's card is Surrender to Silence. And it's interesting, I was just doing my daily readings there a few minutes ago and we got the card of nothingness or nothingness. And it's talking about, sometimes action that you take, an action you can take is to do nothing, is to just to be, to wait for inspired a direction to come to you or inspiration. And the card says, in quiet meditation or contemplation, let go and enter the stillness within. Silence can heal and replenish you. So it's, this could be in a way talking about meditation, talking about taking time for yourself every day where you just, take that 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and you do your meditation, or you spend, a half an hour or an hour walking in a park or out in nature, and you're not talking to anyone, not necessarily thinking any big deep thoughts, but you're just like spending that time of quiet or silence with yourself. And in a sense, when you think, oh, I'm going to be silent, it sounds like you're not doing anything. And like I was mentioning with that other card, just because it says do nothing, or in this case to be silent, doesn't mean that you're not taking, what you're doing in a sense is you're stopping and taking time to refill your own batteries, to refill your own cup. And so sometimes we can be running around doing X, Y, and Z, or helping this person or doing this for the job or for whatever else we're doing for family members or friends. And sometimes we're not taking time to have that silent, quiet time with ourselves. So it's a very interesting idea, and it's funny because this landmark here, I believe it's in France, is a very famous landmark, which the name of which I can't think of right now, but it'll come back to me. But it's funny because in one of the films I did, there's a big scene in the middle of it where it uses this location. Very interesting that would pop up. But again, I'm going to read this to you just before we close here, because this is important to get the exact wording here, or the exact wording. In quiet meditation or contemplation, let go and enter the stillness within. Silence can heal and replenish you. So it is that act of in being quiet and silent, of letting go, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's in a way, not to trivialize it, but now sometimes you see posts online, and don't react to it. Just to be silent, to surrender to silence is sometimes to just ignore those rather than get caught and sucked into that. Or if you're in a conversation with somebody and they're being argumentative, or they're trying to trigger you intentionally or unintentionally, sometimes just not saying anything is a more powerful action than you could do by getting in someone's face and shouting at them, because silence can sometimes speak far louder than words. But this is talking about, and this is what I love about these cards, is because there can be so much interpretation and interesting food for thought with them. But to return specifically to the card that's saying surrender to silence, and in that time you take with yourself, that you surrender to contemplation, to kind of rejuvenating yourself. And as it finally says at the bottom, silence can heal and replenish you. And that's, I think, the takeaway thing for me about silence. And yesterday we had the card of prayer, surrender to prayer. And that can also be a time where we're slowing down. But it's that healing, it's the replenishing, it's the refilling of the battery energy. And it reminds me again of the whole idea of grounding, or what some people say earthing, where you take your socks and shoes off and you walk in the park in your bare feet. And as soon as you put your bare feet onto the earth, onto the grass or the sand and into the water by the ocean, you are instantly refilled in terms of energetically. Isn't that so interesting? And the Earthing the movie is a fascinating film that I'd strongly recommend that you go and check out. It breaks it down scientifically, the impact of grounding and having your bare feet on the ground. And it's a fascinating documentary. It shows how somebody discovered how powerful this was, and then they passed it on to scientists who did all kinds of studies. And so you can actually, they show in the documentary, you can see how the energy level of a person has changed. And there's so many different medical conditions that are profoundly impacted by grounding. And what has this got to do with silence? Because it's kind of that moment, and if you haven't done this, you'll see what I mean when you do. When you take your socks and shoes off and you put your bare feet on the ground, it's just like it's just like a huge relief, is what it feels like. And in that, you are surrendering to silence and to the moment, and being just right there, without too much noise in your mind. Beautiful card today, so much to think and talk about. I hope, my friends, you got some inspiration and thoughts from this card today. I will be back again tomorrow for another episode, and please remember, I have an episode I do daily also of a show called Daily Cards with Hugh on Instagram at Hugh Readings. Please check that out if you don't already. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be back tomorrow.